list, array list is nothing but it's a list. So if you think about this way, your box like this. This is array list box. Hash map. Hash map. Map. Whenever somebody say map, map means key value. Map means key value. So you have key. So your two items, your key and your value. So example, first is the key and second is the value. So example, I say A for apple. So A is the key and apple is the value. B for banana. So A is the key. So here you have key value. Here your value, 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 and value. So this entire thing is a list. Make sense or no? So you can see that if you have list object, this is called data structure. If you want this data structure, you use list. If you need this data structure, you need a map. Now you say, but I don't understand when to use it. So think about that. If your need is the QA, I hope everyone understand. As a QA, you need that if I give a country code, I want to know the contact information. Or if I give country code, I want to know the flag details. Or if I give a country name, a country code, I want precedent information. Which one would you use? Hash map, right? If I want to store my all countries information, list. If I give email address, I want to know my customer information. If I give account number, I want to know the account, whoever has account person detail. If I give you credit card number, right? So if you know the key and if you want to find, you need a hash map. You will be using often, trust me. So like example, if your key is username and you want value, if your key is a password, you need a value, then you will use hash map. These two are very popular and you will be using it because if you know something and you want to know other thing, then you hash map. Or if you just want a bunch of items, then you use list. So far, so good? Are you understanding? So like there are example, if I give MI, I want Michigan. And if I give a IL, I want Illinois. Which one should I use? Do you see the picture or no? If picture is not clear, then there is no need to do programming. Hash map is a key value. Speak with me. You need to know key in order to get the value. So how the programming works? So you always use boilerplate code. You use boilerplate code. So please understand, this is a boilerplate code. What is boilerplate code means? Most of the time it's exactly the same. So think about hash map. That's your class. And you have two objects. One is key and one is value. So here key is integer and the value is a string. And then you have again key here and value. So if you have remember array list, we had only one item in generic, but here too. So key and value. So once you define the object, of course you have to import that class from where? Java util. From where? So Java util, you import the class and then this is the hash map. So you are saying that 1 for apple, 2 for orange, 3. Instead of 1, let's say if I want to do A, then I could use here string also. Make sense or no? Key can be string. If I want email, if I give email and I want to know person information, then I can change this key to string. So string, 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 string. Whatever you use here, you have to use exactly the same here. Make sense or no? Now here I'm using integer, that's why these are integer, this is integer. But if I use string here, then this has to be string. If I use other thing, then it has to match properly. Make sense? Sometimes in your project, you may create like a S for saving and C for checking, right? In that case, you can do that string because you can define that. So this is your map, and here you're adding the value in the map. So far, so good. Now, if you want to loop it, the way you do is take the map and say, give me entry sets. Entry set means how many entry you have. So 1, 2, 3. So it will automatically get the set. Now you say, what is set means? It's kind of, you are getting the list, but this list will have a key value, key value, key value, key value. Now you're going to loop it. So this is the map entry for the looping aspect. Now, when you are doing the looping, you're iterating. Iterating means one by one. So you're looping You're looping and looping. This concept is called iterate. Iterate means loop. Iterate means loop. So far, so good. Now, this is a boilerplate code. It means what? Tomorrow, if you're working, you only need to change this item. You only need to change this item and your data. Rest of the thing, you can use it. Are we understanding? Don't need to memorize it. You just need to high level understand it. So boilerplate code is, you don't have to panic. Boilerplate code is just cut and paste and use it. Make sense? Whatever I'm going to teach you tonight now after this is all boilerplate code. You will mostly cut and paste and use it. Yes.
The H map is a variable, right?
It's a variable. You can use anything you want.
Second question is the S and H that you have over there. You said it was a string, but that would be character, right?
You can use character, but here you can only use object. Character is a primitive type. So rather than I would use string. So in that case, I'll say double quotation rather than single quotation. So if I use
integer is
ask yourself question. Int is a primitive data type or integer.
Yeah.
Makes sense or no? You do need to use object. I hope it is clear. I think I mentioned many times. Don't mix match primitive versus that. Primitive means lowercase, all are integer, character, lower float, double. You cannot use it. This is only used for objects. So if you mix match, you will be confused. Rather than just make it happy, simple. Start with string, start with I cap. Anything is capital is a class, and class is object. Make sense or not? You will not be able to start with float or double. Those are not this is design. These are advanced. So that's why you are using object. Now,
can you call it double dimensional array?
I would not go with that type of thing. It's a different thing. It's not really array. It's a key value. It is a key value. So think about that this way. This is what you have. Now, if you think double dimension array will help you that, I'm fine with that. If you want to do that, like this thing, the first column is always key and second column is always value. Now interview question, can I have duplicate key? No, because if you have key, that's example A for Apple, and after that you say A for America, then A will be key and Apple will be gone and America will be written. Make sense or no? So key will be always unique here. Make sense? Huh? It's very simple. If I write here, let's example, if I write here, can anybody turn off this phone? I'm continuously hearing that. In case if you need to talk, please do talk, because this is like a 9th time in case if you want to record. I already counted that. So if you're very urgent thing, please pick up the phone and all, because it's bothering. So if I write one again, and if I say America, then what will happen? This value will be gone and it will take one America. Make sense or no? Because key will be remain one. You cannot have duplicate key. And this is a process in order to take the loop. So what we are saying, entry set, so you get a set, and now you're iterating. Iterating means loop, and you can say, is there a next item? So first item it will come, you get the next, and you have to get the item. So you get the item, and you're printing the key, and you're printing value. So it will print one apple. Then it will go to next item, it will print. Basically, it is looping. Easy language. It is looping. So far, so good. Now I use this for many reasons. So like example, in your best example, MI for Michigan. So what would be, in this case, I'll say string here, and here I'll say MI, Michigan, OH, Ohio. Makes sense or no? You will be using most likely that type of thing, trust me, because somebody give you key value. That's it, you know you need to use HashMap. If you can understand that, you're good. Then you cut and paste this code, modify, and you're done. Make sense or no? If you do not know HashMap, then you're in trouble. How are you going to handle that? It's very typical, because if key value is given and if you want to use through array and all, it's going to be very typical. Make sense? So that's why HashMap is very powerful and you will be using it. So let's start a new project, and we cut and paste and we'll modify a little bit here. This is a brand new project. So your class will not disappear, but it's a new project. So file, new project, file, new project, file, new project. Select the Java Maven, right? And we'll say my HashMap. Anytime map is nothing but key value. My HashMap, and finish. my hash map and finish. And expand your packages so you can see your project here. So far, so good. Now right click here and create a class. Right click here on a package and create a class. So right click, new Java class. Right click, new Java class. Right click, new Java class. And here in this, you will start like a class, let's say my hash map. You should not create a class called hash map. If you do that, it will create a problem. You know why? Because Java has hash map and you do hash map, you override Java. Many students do amazing job. They use hash map. So you override Java class. Now it's not working. It will never work. So that's why you might notice that I use word my on top of that to avoid that situation. Because I'm doing exactly what you're doing. It's not working. Did you use exactly the class name too? If not, then you are not doing exactly the same. Because program is a simple thing. If you do exactly same as I, and if my program works, your program should work. That's called exactly, means make sense or not? So try to use some prefix my and all, so that way you can avoid overwriting the Java class and finish. So right now, my class name is my hashmap under this project and package. Now here we're going to add our main method, and good news, entire main method is in our form. So go back there and we'll copy entire main method like this. Highlight and copy, Control C. Highlight and copy, Control C. Control C. Make sense? Once you highlight and copy, go back to here and paste it here under Control V. Control V. So entire thing is there. It's going to cry because of the classes we have to import. So one by one, you can import Java util. One by one, you can import Java util set. One by one, you import Java iterator and map. So now there's no error. This is generic. You're adding the value, and this is the process of how to loop it and print all value. So loop and print the value. So in 2 minutes, you will understand when you do the couple of time running. This is a boilerplate code. I will never memorize boilerplate code. No one will ask you to write the code. Listen carefully. They will ask you, if I have a list, what should I use? Or a list. If I have key value, what should I? That's all they will ask you. Boilerplate code you should never memorize, because if you try to memorize, it's not going to work. I've been using Java for maybe more than 26 years now, 20, maybe 4, but I cannot memorize it. And trust me, I only change few things and it works for me. The reason, because it's a boilerplate code. And boilerplate code, you should never memorize it. Now, save it. Make sure you save it. Right click and run and see if you can give me thumbs up if it is running for you. So you can see. So it's working for me. Key one value is Apple, right? Everything is working for me. Make sense or no? I want to make sure your program works, so then I can modify this program and make it more meaningful, more useful, so you can understand it. In this class working?
Yes.
Yeah. Good, right? Okay. Now I'm hoping that I did not make a single change. I just imported the class. Anytime you have error, just import the class through Java util, Java util, Java util, then save the program and then run it, right? Now, let's say I want to create this program, change the program, MI for Michigan and NY for New York, right? So see how I do it. Please understand, first you need to make program working. You don't make the program change, make program working. If program is working, then we can go forward. So right now my program is working. So I'm going to change here, check it out. You can also change string here and string here. And instead of 1, I'm going to say MI, and here I'm going to say Michigan. And here I'll say OH, Ohio. And here I'll say And here I'll say ny, and here I'll say new. Now you can see that I change here, program is changed now because my key value, and I have key value. So this is for properly set up. If you save it, run it, and it will work because it's a boilerplate code. This is very generic. That's why I like about this generic part. It will work. So if I right click and run, it will work. And you can see that it working. Make sense or not? Just changing a little bit, it works. Let's say I want to know what is the key, what is the value for this Ohio. If I want to find it, then I can say this thing, like example, S out. I'll say value for OH equals to, and then I say plus hasmap dot get, and then you double quotation, you can specify the Ohio OH. So see here what I'm doing. Please understand, I say system out. I use system out in double quotations. Plus means join. I'm using the hash map and say for get me the value for Ohio key. So for this key, get me the value. So it will go here. It should get me Ohio. Make sense or no? So hmap is my entire list, and from there I'm saying for this key get me the value, and this is just a system out. Decorate me, it explain me what it is. Make sense? Always see on the screen, try to understand what I'm saying. This anything you can write in double quotation, plus means join. This is your objects hash map, and this is your key. So if I save it and if I run it now, I should get for OH Ohio. If the key is matching, it's gonna get me answer. If the key is not matching, then it will give me null. So it's gonna give me null. So you can see Ohio, it is giving. If you understand, you're good to know. You know now OH for Ohio. It works. Means if I instead of NY, if I do, it will New York. Make sense? So this item, this is the addition, and you will be mostly doing this way, key value. But in case if you want to do loop, you have option for loop also. Question, concerns, doubt.
Can you get the key from the value?
From you can, but then in that case you have to loop and reverse it. So you can do that. So like example, here you're looping, right? And then you can say this is when you get the value, you can say if this is Ohio, get me this key. So you can do that. But in that case, it's a little bit awkward, right? Because normally you want to do reverse, right? Because it is possible two values may have a, like example, you say value, that's just an example, Ohio. But if you search that, it is possible you might get multiple keys too. Key is unique, value is not unique. So reverse is not good idea. You see what I'm saying? Make example, my account number and my phone number, my wife account number and phone number. Do you agree that between both of us, account number will be different, but phone number can be same? Say yes or no. So what Raj say, if you try to do, it will be confusing, right? So from value to key is very bad idea for HashMap, because HashMap key to value is good idea. Because if you try to do it, it's going to create an unpredictable result, because you cannot control value, you control key. So you need to think about always you are going to search from key to value. But if you do value to key, it's very challenging. In that case, I would use something different. Okay, good. Was it hard at all? And because we have done copy paste, it gives you clear picture. Now you might notice that in this one, only thing you need to understand is the structure. Now in coming class, just an example, if I create a student, just an example, or I add a list or a list. So example, please see on the screen. If I have basketball, what do you call team? For Michigan, I have basketball team. And in basketball team means more than one person, yes or no?
Yeah.
Say yes at least.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I have basketball team, and in that basketball team, I have player. So player is object, say yes.
Yeah.
Player is object, and I create an array list of that player, which is called team. Make sense or no? So team is the list. Say yes. And array list, here, this is the player. So that's the object. Player is the object. Player is the object. And I add those player in array, then it becomes a team. So I can say that Michigan team. So when I search Michigan, I can get all 11 players. Are you understanding? Say yes or no. Yeah. So I'm going to show you that. Okay. But this is a little different. So in order for me to do that, I don't want you to do it because I might get error, but I can quickly fix it. I just want you to see how complex it becomes. You can do beautiful things. So example, country is US, but country has a states, right? And if you have 50 states and 50 state is the list, yes or no? So I'm going to create hash map to list and list to the value. It's simple. It is not complex. I want you to see how valuable it is. Trust me, practicality is very important. And if you don't have imagination, then this beautiful structure, which has map and array list, you will not be able to use. So I'm going to show you team. So it will be easy because you have project. So check it out. Don't do anything. Please do not do anything. Just see here. You don't have to do here. I just want you to see here. So I have a string and I'm saying this is not a string anymore. This will be a list. Let me do array list. Array list. You know array list, yes or no? And I'm going to use array list. Don't do anything. Okay, don't type it. Just see here. So I'm going to import it. So it will be happy. Do you guys agree? Now I'm going to create array list. So you know already. So array list. Let's say example who, like I can see project list. So we'll say project one, project list one, right? And in that case, I'll say new array list, right? But then I need a generic. So I'll just say string. And here I need to put string here, and you will not cry because string. Sounds familiar? Now I'm going to add project list. Let me copy that. Please don't type, just see here so you can understand. Now I'm adding people. So I'll say, let's say Raj is in this team, right? And project list one, add Kevin. So they are in one team. So far, so good. Now I'm going to copy this thing and creating another team. This is a project team 2. And in that we have Mike. And we have Amy. And we have Mary. That easy. So how many teams we have? Two. So I'm going to now change it. And I'll say this is project 1 key. And rather than this one, I'm going to add a list. Make sense? Now, if I copy this thing and paste it here, I'll say this is project 2 and project team 2, right? I don't need any of this, so I'm going to remove that. Sounds good? Now, if I want to print, listen carefully. If I want to print S out, I'm printing HMAP. That is whole entire structure I'm printing. And I'll say S out. I'll say project 1, and I'll say plus HMAP. What should I do? HMAP dot get. And then what should I do? Project 1. That will give you idea. And if I copy this, then it's a project 2. And so in case if you're still not clear what I'm doing, I created it, say, hey, I will have a key, but the answer will be list. Now I'm adding string here, but instead of string, I can also add an entire player object, which we'll cover next week. Make sense or no? I'm using string, but I can add object. So I create a list here. I create a list here. So I'm creating 2 lists. And here, key 1, it has its own list. And key 2, it has its own list. So if I save it, run it, we will see all the details. First, it will print me the hash map, and the second, it will print me the particular thing. So now we can see here, project. This is the hash map. First one is the hash map. You can see here project 2, there are 3 players. Project 2 player. And project 1 has 2 players. Pretty powerful, yes or no? Now, this concept you will be using for your project. So think about for a second, you will understand everything what I'm trying to say. If I have just an example, if I want to create, let's say, bank has account and you have different bank 1 and bank 2. So instead of project, you do bank, and instead of here, you do accounts. Bank 2, accounts. Make sense or not? And same concept. So what you are knowing right now, if you spend a little more time, then you will do more complex projects. But the concept is only to array list and hash map, right? Next week, I'll go and detail explain with proper structure, which is called OOP. So we are slowly getting into OOP. So far what I taught, and if you have done this thing, then now onwards, everything will be easy, my mistake. It will be easy because the most important part was understanding syntax, because we are learning first time generic today, yes or no? So sometimes it takes time, but next on now from here to all the way to Selenium and everything will be easy. The Selenium itself is a lot easier than Java. Java is the first language, so it takes time to understand and absorb the language. But rest of the things is now easy because you have already gone through the Java program. Any question here before we switch the topic? Any questions on phone or people? Any questions? You don't have to type anything, no need to change anything. This is just for explanation. Okay. Now, 2 more topics to cover. The one topic we need to cover is exception, and one we need to cover the file reader. So first, I want you to stop and pay attention. We're going to cut and paste code from our forum. So first thing, I want to make sure we all understand the topic we are going to cover is topic, a very important topic for interview and exam. So it's very important. Exception. So anytime somebody say exception, you should think about error. Speak with me. Error. Now, these errors are very different type of error. One error, I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. So like example, when you don't do homework, I know you will have a challenge. Do you agree or not? Because you are not doing homework means you will have a problem. We all know that's called checked exception. What do we call? Checked exception. Means I know that it's going to happen. Checked. Because you are not doing homework, you are having challenge. So sometimes our mom and dad say, make sure do this. So example, when you're driving car, make sure your driving license. Make sure you drive slow. Make sure you check blind spot. Make sure you do reverse properly. Make sure means I know most likely there is a problem. So you have to avoid those problems. So we are kind of more cautious. So that's called check, 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 check. You have to check first before you do anything. That's called common sense. You have to do. So example, when you drive car, the most likelihood is you may have flat tire. Yes or no? So if you have flat tire, you have to have roadside assistance. That's why because most probable exception is like a flat tire. So your roadside assistant or your spare wheel. Yes or no? So that's a check. And sometimes you have no idea and happen. So that's called runtime exception. So there are 2 types of exception. One is called checked exceptions and one is called runtime exceptions. Runtime exceptions. Now you say, I have no idea what is runtime. So think about it. Recently, I went to Walmart and tried my credit card. It did not work. It declined. I was saying, what happened? So what happened? Because when I was swiping, that time I came to know, yes or no. Because by default, I thought credit card should work because I do pay bills, right? So I was expecting, but over there did not work. The reason it did not work because when I was teaching, I got a transaction here, $1, $2 transaction. Every time transaction come to my phone. So the question was, is this you are making? I said no. And then I was teaching. I didn't realize that when I said no, they thought it's a theft or some kind of happened. So they locked the account. I went to Walmart account credit card doesn't work. Then I realized that, so my wife and me, both, we are sharing the same account. So she was doing maybe $1, not $2 transaction. I don't know why she was making so small transaction, but I thought maybe somebody is doing that. So I stop it. But that is runtime. I only came to know when I use my credit card. Do you agree or not? Make sense or not? So what is the difference? So based on historical knowledge, if you want to be protective, based on historical knowledge, if you want to be protective, then you use check exception. So our kids are more checked by our parents, right? So parents kind of protect our kids, and that's why they don't like it, right? Because we are kind of do this, do this, do this, do this. We say that, yes. So checked exception force you to do it, force you to do it. So example, when I used to go to school, now not. When I used to go to school, my mom used to say, during winter, you have to wear a jacket and you have to have cover your ear, otherwise you will have cold and cough. I'm still using it because so many times they have planted seed in my mind that even my kids are not doing, my wife is not doing. As soon even today, there was no cold, but I was still using it. Oh. So that's called checked. So much force, you have to do it. And if you don't do it, they don't allow you to go outside. So you have to do it, right? So example, many times you follow it because of force. So example, if you are driving car, you need to make sure you have insurance card, make sure you have registration card, make sure you have certain phone number or cell phone, right? So that force comes. Runtime exceptions, you don't get any force because you get surprise. You get surprise. And when you get surprise, you may try something or you may not. Here, you cannot even come out from house. So you will get compile error. Compile error means your program can't even run. So like example, if I want to come out from my house and if I don't have, let's say, driving license, there is no way I will be able to go out. It means parents won't allow me to drive. Do you agree or not? Because that's called compile error. It means program doesn't even work. In a runtime, program works. Program works. So program works, but once in a while you get an error because it's runtime. So example, I go to Target, I go to Walmart and I use my card. It works most of the time, but sometimes it doesn't work. That's a runtime error. But if my credit card itself I don't have in my pocket, before I go for shopping, make sure you have wallet in your pocket. Yes or no? So make sure it's a force. If you don't have, you can't go to shopping. Means your program stop right there. So checked exceptions are noticed during compile time. Compile time means when you run the program, you check it. So far, so good. Now, runtime exception normally are business exception. Business exception. Checked exceptions are more about technical exception. So example, if you are writing a program on a file, so it is possible you may not have permission. You may not have permission. So that's called permission exception, but that's a checked. It is possible folder is not exist. So folder does not exist. That's a technical exception. Do you agree or not? But when you try to do login, you enter username and password. Let's say you enter username and password incorrect. In that case, it's a runtime exception. Yes or no? But that's a business exception. We call login failure. Make sense? Credit card failure. Make sense or no? Invalid, what do you call CVV code. Those are business exceptions. Runtime exceptions are more business. You don't have to handle it. You get surprised. If you want to do something, you can, but most of the time you will retry. Here, you have to do it during programming time. So far, so good. So right now, just understand how many type of exception? Two type. One is, and one is, this is very important topic. Okay, I'm giving like slowly. Now, in order for us to do that, checked exception has to follow three mechanisms. So the way you follow is like this. You do try, and then you do curly bracket and close curly bracket. So first you try, and here you write your code. You write your code here. That code may have exception. May have exception. So you're saying try, and the try is a curly bracket. Inside you write a program. If there is an exception, you have to catch that exception. You have to catch that exception. And then you have curly bracket. And then you have finally, I'll explain. And then you have curly bracket. Now, this is the structure for the checked exception. So there is a 3-step approach. There are 9 questions people ask. I'm going to cover all 9 questions. And if you do it, guaranteed interview will go very well. So first of all, for checked exception, you have to do this thing. Try. And you write a code. So example, if you are going to do file operation, which we are going to do in few minutes, if you are going to do file operation, Java say, wait a minute. You are doing file operation is prone to error, means you will have error. So that's called checked exception. Java say, hey, it's a checked exception. So you have to use all your code under try block. So you have to start try, start the curly bracket and write all your code. And then you have to handle exception, file not found exception, input output exceptions, permission exception. You need to handle it. And if there is a problem, you can convert that error in a readable message, readable English message. If you don't do it, then user will not know what the problem is. So you need to convert into readable form. The final is optional block. Final is optional block. You do it or you don't do it, no problem. So the way it works is you may have one try block. Please understand, when you have one try block and you have 2 choices. First question, you do need a try block for checked exception. Can I do check exception without try block? No, you have to do try block. You write your code here, but then try block cannot be independent. You have a 2 choice, either you handle catch or do finally. So you can do catch. If you do catch, then you're a good citizen, then Java will allow you. Otherwise it will not. It is possible you don't want to do catch when you just want to do finally. That's also. So Java will say, you know that you're trying to do something, there is a problem, there is a chance that you will have error. So you try, and if there is error, go to catch block or go to finally. But you do need to have that. Make sense? If you don't, Java will not even compile the program. Your program won't work. So you can say, okay, I'm doing catch. So one try, you can have one catch or many catch. So example, I'm doing file operation. I'm doing file operation. So when I'm doing file operation, I can have many problems. File not found, folder not found, or I have IO operation, hard drive crash. So how many error I can have? Many, yes or no? So one try can have many catch. One try can have many catch. Speak with me. One try can have many catch. Now, if I have a try block and there is a problem, please understand there is a problem. Then first it will go to the first catch block and say, is this something you are able to catch? Answer is no. Then it will go to second catch block. If you are able to catch, answer is no. Then it will go to third catch block. Are you able to catch? If yes, then it will run. So think about that. You have 3 people standing. You have 3 people standing in front of me, and I'm throwing ball. What am I throwing? Ball. What am I throwing? Ball. So what they're going to catch? Ball. So if I'm throwing ball, how many people are there? 3. How many can catch ball? Only 1. Don't say 3. Don't say 3. You have to play the ball game in order to understand that. There may be 11 players, but only 1 person can catch. Do you guys agree or not? If I throw 1 ball, then only 1 ball exists. So 1 person can catch. Doesn't matter how many people are there. So if catch blocks are 3 or 10, how many catch block will run? 1. Only 1. So why do I need 10? Because there are different type of balls you will be throwing. One time basketball, maybe one person can catch basketball. One may be tennis ball. One may be like baseball ball. So different ball you are throwing. So different person are catching that. Make sense or no? So far so good. Now, how many people are standing? 3. Let's say first person is a beginner. Second is maybe a little bit experienced. And third one is pro. So when I throw ball, beginner may or may not catch. Yes or no? Intermediate person may or may not catch. But pro will catch all ball. Do you guys agree? But if I reverse it and I bring pro person first, do you think beginner will have ever chance? Again? No. Again? So when you do catch, you have to do catch in an order. You start with a tiny catch, then bigger catch, then bigger catch. So when you catch, just catch a little bit, then bigger catch, then bigger catch. Because if you put this catch on a first, then Java will say, are you kidding? This guy will never get chance because you are catching everything. If you catch everything, the guy will standing, then he will never able to get the ball. So this is called unreachable code. Speak with me. Because there is no way that guy will get ball because you are putting pro person first. So Java say that when you catch, specific catch first, wider catch second, and very wide catch will be the last. We call catch all. Speak with me. Again, again, catch all should be the last, should not be the first. If it is first, Java is actually will not allow that. Make sense? Now, it is possible you don't want any catch, then you need a finally. Then you need a finally. So far, so good? Are we clear? All those things you don't have to do for runtime exception. Runtime exception you don't have to do because it's a surprise. You don't know when it's going to happen. Yes or no? So runtime exception is a surprise, but checked exception you have to do during programming. During programming. So far, so good? We are not done yet. Okay? Now let's draw the picture and try to understand. Okay? So right now, I'm writing a try block. Please understand. Relax and enjoy. This concept is very valuable. That's why I'm taking time. I know it will be asked in your interview. I know it will be asked in your exam. There is no doubt about it. If you do not understand this part, then you will have a problematic problem. Means when you have a problem, you will not know how to handle it. So that's why we are spending some time. So try block. And now let's say I have catch block. So say catch and I have exceptions 1 and it's curly bracket, close curly bracket. I have again catch, exception 2 and it's curly bracket, close curly bracket. And now I have finally. And it's curly bracket, close curly bracket. And here you write a code. Now I'm going to explain the scenario. Please pay attention. If you're doing multitasking, stop it. I have seen people, they understand very clearly. In last 20 plus years, when I interviewed Java, so far, I ask these questions more often, this exception. I would say like, so far, maybe 98% people, even though they say that I'm experienced or 8 years, 10 years, could not answer these questions. Only 2 students so far, students means candidate, were able to answer my questions. And funny part, they were just student from college fresher. So what I'm trying to say, student like you will be more accurate and more precise in answering versus the people who are professional. Because people who are professional do not know this fundamental. They make more mistake, while you will make right answer. And when you make right answer, you get the opportunity. So let me walk you through. So first thing first, I'm going to first explain, then you will. So right now I'm writing a program here. And let's say this line have a problem. So immediately it will go to catch first and say, is it something you catch it? If yes, it will execute the inside block. If not, it will go to the next catch. But if this guy catch, it will never go to the next block. But it always go to finally block. So far, so good. If I have an error, listen carefully. In scenario number 1, if I have an error, then I go to one of the catch block. First, I'll always go to first catch block. If that guy handle, I will never go to second or third catch block. Are we clear? Say yes?
Yeah.
Good. But let's say another scenario. I run the program and there is no error. There is no error. Will I go to catch block?
No.
No. But I will always go to final. Are we clear? Very good. Next, when you have an error on this line, when you have error, will you able to execute this line? No. So this line will never execute. Now, if this block is not able to handle this exception, but this guy is able to handle, will you see anything from here?
No.
But you will, if this guy is able to handle, you will see this, but finally always execute. even though success or failure finally always executes. Are we clear? Now, people will ask question, why would you write finally? The reason you write finally to release the resources. Release the resources. So like example, if you're using database, you want to release the resource. If you're using web services, you want to release the resources. If you're using file, you want to release the resources. So anything you want to release the resources, you do finally. Why? Because there is a problem, but finally always execute. So your opportunity to fix all before you come out. Make sense? So if sometimes in interview people ask, if I'm closing database here, and I have problem here, do you think database will be closed? No. In that case, database will remain open. And if this error happens 6-7 times, then production outage will happen. Because these closings supposed to happen in finally, but beginner person did not know. So they wrote here, and now your error here multiple times, you're not closing connections. Now it will have production problem. So if you are doing closing, database closing, file closing, resource closing, where would you write? Finally, always finally. Make sense or no? Clear? Okay. Now, if I go back to, you guys are expert now. If I go back to, what do you call, in exception, I wrote it here, all those things. Remember 9 blocks here. First, only one try block need at least one catch and one final block. Are we clear? Okay. If you have multiple catch block, only one catch block works. Are we clear? It's okay to say yes. Don't say, what are you talking about, right? Catch block should be in order. Remember the ball, right? Pro always last, right? Finally block always runs. Are we clear? Success or failure. Catch block runs only once if there is an error. If there is no error, catch block will run. Very good. Runtime exception, try catch finally is not required. Are we clear? So which one is best exception? This one. Almost new programming use runtime exception because people are tired with this try catch block. It unnecessarily create a code, unnecessarily create code. Old language, try catch block was essential. New programming language, we don't use try and catch block. If you don't want to write catch block and all, you can always use throws. So when you don't want to handle anything, just do throws at method level. So what happened? You can say, I'm not going to handle it. Someone else will handle. So just do throws. What are you going to do? Throws means you don't have to write try, catch and all. Sometimes what happens, you're tired and you want to get the work done. When you're in Selenium, you will always use throws because try, catch, unnecessary create the logic, unnecessary. So what we're going to do? Throws. Speak with me. Throws means you are saying, I'm not going to handle, someone else will handle. Very simple. Without try, catch block, your program will stop. And if you get an error, with try, catch block, you can capture error and continue the program. Make sense? So like example, in this program, if you have try catch block, listen carefully. After finally line, anything after finally will run. So if you don't write proper, then your program will stop here itself. Your program will stop here and you will not graciously stop. So it's a good idea that you do try catch block. Good. So far, so good. Now, why are we learning this thing? So we are going to use a file operations. I want to make sure you understand file operation. The file operation means you write and read the file. So how you do that? So for that, I'm going to now cover file operations. Now you know already try catch, so it's a lot easier. Mm-hmm.
When does Java expect you to write the try?
Yeah, I'm going to explain.
So you said file was.
I'm going to explain that part. You will understand in 2 minutes. So first thing, I'm going to do file. So check it out. This is the program we're going to do. Please relax and enjoy. I'm trying to do file operation. As soon as I do file operation, Java says, wait a minute. It requires checked exception. What it require? So I have to do try. It will tell me. So we can see this is a try block and this is the catch block and like this. At any time when I capture the error will come here so I can print it here. Now I'm saying, hey, I'm using file writer. So I'm writing the file and I give a path. So I have a C drive and then in there I have folder called data. Folder called data. Under data folder, I'm saying create a file called this. So if you don't have data folder, you will get exception. Yes or no? If you don't have a C drive, you get exception. So we need to make sure we have a data folder in our C drive, and there we write this file. Now, this file writer is a Java IO package. Java IO package. Java IO. IO means input, output. Speak with me. Input, output. So there we are file writer. Name itself say that file writer means it will write to the file. Now we are using buffer writer. Buffer writer means our program write to the buffer writer. Please understand. Buffer writer means memory. Buffer writer means memory. And from memory, we write to file writer. And file writer is a program will write to hard disk. Now you say, but why we are doing this thing? Why can't we directly write to the file writer? You can write to the file writer, but file means IO. File means it's okay to speak. File means IO. And IO hard disk spin very slow. Hard disk spin very slow. So if your computer CPU is very fast and hard disk is slow, so if you work with the slow, then CPU is not utilized correctly. So we use buffer writer. Buffer writer is a memory. Memory is faster. So CPU writes to memory faster, and then memory, whenever you get chance, write to the file, and CPU is free to do some other activity. So this is called unblocking CPU. Speak with me. It's okay to speak. Unblocking. Unblocking. Unblocking means, like example, many of you want my cell phone, and I do not want you to text me. Like recently, a couple of students are texting me. I don't answer. Normally I don't answer. Once in a while I answer. You're lucky, because as soon as you start texting, you're blocking me because you expect me to write. So when I text, now I can't do anything. But when you email me, whenever I want, I can answer. You respond, it will be in my inbox. Whenever I want, I can answer it. But you are not blocking me. Do you guys agree or not? So same concept. CPU is very precious. You don't want to block. So we add a layer which is kind of assistant. CPU writes to buffer writer, then buffer writer writing to file writer, and then hard disk. People may ask question, why use buffer writer? For better performance. We unblock CPU. So CPU can quickly write in a file writer, sorry, buffer writer, and then they start doing anything else, and then buffer writer will write to file. So this program will create a file, and the way we write here, BW, which is the buffer writer, we write this message, and then we close our files. So we are closing buffer writer and we are closing file. Make sense? So let me repeat now. So anytime you do file operation, it's a checked exception. Java will not allow. Java will say, hey, if you want to do file writer, you have to do try block. Then you do catch. These exception, which you are seeing exception, this is catch all. Speak with me. It means if you do catch all, you don't have to have multiple exceptions. So normally I use catch all, because why would I write catch, catch, catch? It's unnecessary at the code. So I use catch all. It catch everything. And if there is an error, I want that error message to be written here. Now, first I'm saying, hey, go to file writer. From file writer, I'm using buffer writer. And from buffer writer, I'm writing a file and I'm closing. So when I run this program, it will create a file with 2 lines. You guys agree? Then same code where I'm using file reader, same file, I'm using buffer reader and I'm reading the file. Make sense? And it will print whatever I have written. Makes sense? This will display on my console. So right now we're going to create a project so you can see how it works. Okay, let's create a last project for the day. So create a file, create a new project. Create a new project. Next. And say my file. I'll say 3. My file. Project name is my file. Make sure, pay attention. We are almost finished line. Okay, and finish. And you can see that you have a package which is without class. So this is your project. This is your package. So right now let's create a class, new Java class, new Java class. Always see on the screen so you don't left behind. Java class. new Java class, and here we'll say my file. Don't write file because file is the class. We are using my file. So you're specifying M capital and F capital, my file, and finish. So far so good. Now from forum, please understand, we have to be careful. Okay, listen carefully. Listen, hello, hello, hello. In this forum, we have main method. Please pay attention. Don't just blindly do, otherwise it won't work. But this main method is not ending. So I'm going to end a curly bracket. Please see on the screen, please. So it's not ending. So I have to add a curly bracket. So this curly bracket is for this. This curly bracket is for this. This curly bracket is for this. Make sense? So right now there is no curly bracket. So we'll add. So copy it from select up to this. Make sure you do it right. Highlight and do Control C. Make sure you do it. Don't wait for the word. Do it. Come on, fast. Highlight and do Control C. Some energy needed. Okay. Highlight only this. Don't just do more than this. Just highlight this. Control C. Control C means copy. Now go back to the program, and after this, inside the program, do Control V and then do curly bracket and add one more curly bracket. Add one more curly bracket. Make sure you add one more curly bracket. You have to add this curly bracket. Add this curly bracket. Make sense? Add this curly bracket. Now you have an error. Import one by one classes. So Java util, import it, and Java util, import it, and you're done. I'm hoping that your error disappeared. Give me thumbs up if you're able to do this basic task, right? So far so good. Remember, I added this curly bracket. Don't forget that. I added the curly bracket. Please help me, give me response so at least I know you're listening and you're following. If you don't add, you will have error. So make sure you add the curly bracket and have a smile. So at least good at that. Now, please understand, many times if you think curly brackets are not properly organized, you can right click and just say format. Right click anywhere and just say format. So it will do proper alignment. So it's kind of more readable. So if you click here now, this will highlight the main method. Make sense? So if you did not add a curly bracket, you will have error. This one is already done. This is there. So far so good. Now, please understand, if you're not paying attention, don't tell me that you are not able to run. This program is pretty long. So it's very important you pay attention. Now, if you have a curly bracket proper and you imported this class, then error disappear. At this moment, you will not have any error. What is the expectations? I should go to C drive data and I should see the folder data. So if you go to C drive, if you're yellow folder, go to your yellow folder here and go to C drive. So through PC, you can go to C drive. So from PC, I can go to C drive and go to C drive and see if your data folder. So I have a data folder here. If you don't have a data folder, you can right click here on a white portion, right click and write a folder name, new folder data. You can right click on a white portion and say new folder data. Make sure you create a folder called data. So right click on a white and write the folder name data. Folder name data. Make sure you do it. Don't watch only. Do it if you don't have a data folder. If you have a data folder, good. Otherwise, right click, new folder, right click, new folder, and write the folder name data. And you will see the data folder. Give me thumbs up if you have data folder. If not, create it. And don't wait for whole world. Okay, it hardly takes a second. Right click, new folder, data. Good, right? Mac user will have a little hard time because if you don't know how to create this folder, it's a little bit different you need to do, because Mac user has a very special thing, /user or /home. So I'm kind of assuming you are using Windows and you should be able to do that. Now, if everything good, double click on data folder. You may not have anything there. You may not have anything in that. So you can see C drive data, or you may have something, don't worry about it. We're going to create a file here. So go back to your program And here, just say my file 1. Create my file 1. So what we are saying that under C drive, under data folder, I'm going to create this file and I'm going to write this 2 line inside the file. And if there's a problem, I'm going to catch this file here. Okay, if any problem, I'll catch it here. So save the program. Now right click and run, save and right click and run, and it will create a file with 2 lines. So save the program and right click and run. After one successful run, you will not see anything on a screen, but your file will be created under data folder. Your file will be created under data folder. So you can check now. So you can see my file is created. My file is created. If I double click on it, you can see now the file is created. Give me thumbs up if you are able to see the file. Means you are doing great. You can see right now under C drive data, I have file created. And if I double click on that, I can see the content, and that is coming from these 2 lines. Make sense? So far, any questions? So far, so good? Okay. Please understand, this program is a boilerplate code. So only you will do in the real life is change the file name. That's pretty much it. Rest of the things will be same. If you want to change here, you can change this message here as well. So I wrote the file. Now I want to read the file. I want to read the file. So how do I read the file? So good news, we have code there on our websites. Now go back to our forum. Now you can see that I have mentioned here read file. Make sense or not? So we're gonna highlight from here read file all the way till this curly bracket. Don't copy main because you already added that block. So you're gonna copy up to this. Don't copy the main block. Control C. Make sense? Control C. Now this portion we're gonna add after the catch block. So see here, hello, see on the screen, you're gonna add after the catch block. Don't delete that. After the catch block, we're gonna create some space. So I'm creating some space here. After the catch block, I'm creating some space and I'm gonna add the block here. So the previous block is for write and this block for read. So I'm gonna create some space. This curly bracket is for main. This curly bracket is for class. This curly bracket is for catch. So I'm going to add my new block here, right? So do Control V. Oops, I didn't copy that. Control C and Control V. So you can see now I added that. One by one, import the class. One by one, import the class. Don't forget to change the file name to 1 because we changed the file name, my file 1. So make sure you change that 1. At this moment, I do not have any error. I change the file name to 1. Make sure you change the 1 because we have done the file. If everything is saved, there is no issue. If the class you imported and everything is good, there is no error, save your program and now run it and you will be able to see this file data on your console. You will see the file data on your console. And you can see those lines are here. Yes or no? Now, if you read that, it's a kind of boilerplate code. You're reading the file reader goes to buffer reader, and then you're using loop, line by line, you're reading and displaying that item in a screen. Now, everything is controlled under try and catch. You have to do try and catch when you use file operation. This is the way you do that. If I want to write finally, I write finally here also. We'll cover that as we go further in the next class also. So far, so good. Any questions? Any questions like, first of all, are you able to run the program? How to write? How to read? People on phone, any question here? Try block is separate for write and try block is separate for read. I always keep it separate because write is separate, read is separate. I have a few more things to cover before we close the day. Question?
So, like I was saying, when would the Java expect you to write and write?
Yeah.
You said the files?
Yeah, so let me just show you. I'm removing try just for your knowledge purpose. Check it out. I'm removing try. Java will not allow me. Move your mouse and you can say checked exception. Java will not allow.
So in this case, if it expects you to do a try block, can you do throws?
You can. In that case, if I see right now there is an error, yes or no? And if I don't want to handle, I just let throws exception. Then error will disappear. But that's bad practice, right? So it's always good practice to use try catch for certain cases. So certain cases we will do try catch. So I'll do the try catch.
So besides the Selenium codes and then the file, is there other where Java expects you to do the try catch?
You don't have to memorize it. Anytime you write, it will tell you. It's just like you're going outside. Not our mom and dad will every time will say make sure, right? There are activity you're gonna do. So example, you're going for like sleepover, then there will be make sure, and there will be a special make sure. But let's say you are driving car, there will be a special make sure, right? Or you are going for maybe certain event, that there will be certain make sure. So it case by case is you have to handle it.
So
But the process is try catch same.
So it will say exception.
Yeah, it will tell you.
Okay.
It will tell you. So right now, just for your information, I'm using this line outside of the try. Look at that. It will tell me exactly. Check it out. So if I put it here, let me do one. So now if I move my mouse, it clearly says, remember, file not found exception. So I have to handle that thing. So that's called catch. If I don't handle it, won't work. It just won't work. So Java will tell you that's called checked exception. Very good. Any other questions?
We can use this in project.
Yeah, I will still cover. We have still a couple of weeks to go for the project, but I will cover in you do need a help for the project for this thing. So far, so good. Now, I know we are running out of time, so there is a homework available. Now, you do need to write, listen carefully. You have to create this type of data file where you want to have email. And so you create a data file like this. So if you want to create data file, there are two choices. You can go to folder structure, C drive data, and then you can open a file or create a new file. You can do that. Or you can write a file writer and you can write this information. So if I want to write something like this, check it out. I can write one line here just for your learning purpose. bw.write. I can paste that in double quotation. Then whatever I paste, it will be written into the file. Make sense? Yes or no? And if I want to make dynamic, I can use scanner. Yes or no? Scanner, I can ask, hey, enter your name. And when you enter the name, instead of double quotation, you use variable name. Then you ask, enter your grade. And then whatever you get, you write that. So scanner will make your program dynamic, right? And that is what some homework you have. So this is the program. You can see this is the program you did. And I have program here, see grade program. So we'll cover that part, grade program, but I want you to see this program. Check it out. Let me explain this program. It's you can try yourself. So first of all, grade class. So when you are creating a project, you create a package and you create a grade class and you follow that class. That will create a grade class. This is your attribute. Remember last week we did attribute setter and getter, right? You will do that. Copy that entire class. You're going to copy the grade class. Then you create another class, which is called my grade. Now here I'm saying file reader. I create a file. Everything is there. I'm using scanner, right? And every time you get this, all the detail I get, and then I'm passing this detail to the grade class. And then you can do that part. So spend some time, see if you can do it. Next week, we're going to cover further. But now, knowing what we know, all homework is in this thing. Try your best as much as you can do all homework which I have, which is written here. So everything, whatever I taught so far, it's here week 5, I believe. Week 5. So all those things we have covered so far, it's week 5. So there are some program is for example, which you can play around, and there are some homework which you can do it. Now, knowing what we know, when is the project due? 22nd. So I have 2 weeks to go. So next week, I'm going to start object oriented, and 15, I'll cover more about project, and 22nd. So you are now closer. I have created a project forum, and I'm hoping that you started working on that part. But more you do is better. And you and your team member has to have close connections. You have to discuss with your team, because Java project is fun. So I added here Java object-oriented programming and project. It's more fun. Go over